Welcome back to Resistance Chicks. We are your hosts, Leah and Michelle. Today is May 16th, 2017. Why is that significant? It's significant because of a non-story that got pushed out as a big story, and then they came back to say that it's really not that big of a story, but we only did it, and they're not saying this, to cover up the Seth Rich story that was real, that we just covered a minute ago. But we're going to bring it to you anyway.
Washington Post, so proud of themselves. They cheered when this particular story made like record views for the day for them, and they're cheering and they're so excited, but it's a non-story.
So it's pretty much fake news.
Really fake news. This is, I mean, I've read through it. There's nothing to this. It boggles my mind. And so we're going to try to delve through it, but to me, it's confusing because it's a non-story, so why are we covering it? But I'm covering the fact that they're covering it, if that makes sense.
Let's go right to it.
Okay, the Breitbart, and stay with me if you know, Breitbart says deep state leaks highly classified info to Washington Post to smear President Trump. And so the way this went is the Washington Post supposedly got a scoop that Trump had leaked some classified information in this meeting with Russian spokespeople. So you had Rex Tillerson in there, you had Trump in there, you had McMaster in there, and Tillerson and McMaster have both come out and said, the story is fake news, I was in the room, so who do you believe, who do you trust? But I'm not going to trust Washington Post. Because for somebody, this is what they do all the time. I don't know. Their newspaper has to be shut down. They're a CIA operative, anyways.
Right.
Just FYI. But they post things like, "Look, this is classified information," and then they share it with everyone. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So, current and former U.S. officials supposedly concerned that President Trump had shared some highly classified information with the Russian foreign minister and ambassador to the U.S. last week leaked that information to the Washington Post in an article published yesterday. However, the report admits that it is unlikely that Trump actually broke any laws. So here's the thing. If Trump did something and he didn't break any laws, what's the scoop? What's the story? Why is everybody flocking to it? Why are you cheering? Why are you patting yourself on your back? It's about some laptops that might be used by ISIS on airplanes, and Trump tweeted out, real Donald Trump, he says, "As president, I wanted to share with Russia at an openly scheduled White House meeting that which I have the absolute right to do, facts pertaining to terrorism and airline flight safety, humanitarian reasons. Plus, I want Russia to greatly step up their fight against ISIS and terrorism." And then he goes on to say, an hour later, "I have been asking Director Comey and others from the beginning of my administration to find the leakers in the intelligence community." So obviously this was the people just right in his room, but you know, there are people who are listening. They've got those slingshot things. They've got those radio things that, you know, they're saying that their sources, they could have Donald Trump bugged.
Okay, but Michelle's opinion is that McMaster's is the leak.
Well, and here's the thing. Alex Jones and Roger Stone came out with the fact that it was McMaster and that he's the leaky lippy,
the loose lips that's sinking the Donald's ship.
Right. So Trump is defending himself and this is one of those non-stories in the fact that he didn't do anything worthy of really reporting on. Right. He sat down with the Russian spokespeople and he said, "Listen, let's take care of ISIS. Here's some information." So it says, in addition, his national security advisor who was at the meeting told the Post nothing was shared that was not already publicly known. Back in March, they had, I think I might have a picture of it here. So Trump revealed highly classified information to Russian foreign minister and ambassador. That was the headline. But in March, it says, U.S. bans laptops, iPads, and carry-on bags from airports in 8 Islamic countries due to bomb fears. So that was the main topic of conversation. And then it says, one day after dismissing Comey, Trump welcomed Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov and Ambassador Kislyak, a key figure in early Russia controversies, into the Oval Office. It was during that meeting, officials said, that Trump went off script and began to describe details of an Islamic State terrorist threat related to the use of laptop computers on an aircraft. And then over here in March, flight ban on laptops sparked by ISIS threat. And I had actually already read an article about the laptops previously. I mean,
Right.
I already knew. I mean, if I
This is
knew
no
this,
surprise. So the fact that they're making this big deal about this, it doesn't make any sense.
Right, exactly. So McMaster says at no time were any intelligence sources or method discussed, and no military operations were disclosed. So this is really just like a really crazy, weird story. But here's the timestamp I wanted to show you. Did the Washington Post publish its fake news Russia hit piece to drown out the bombshell Seth Rich story? And if you look closely, it says 5:48 p.m. May 15th, 7:45.
1:45, I think. 7:45 p.m. You're right. Yes,
So-
that was.
It's an hour. So Trump revealed highly classified information. So like it was like about an hour apart
Right.
when you're looking at these.
Don't look at this major awesome story that's going to show that this really
Right.
was a big deal and that Seth Rich really was killed for talking to WikiLeaks. Don't talk about that. Don't focus on that. Let's focus on this non-story about Trump that's completely
Right.
made up.
Exactly. So McMaster, he had to come out. He had to do his whole thing and say this really wasn't a thing. Blah blah blah. So the current and former officials told the Post that Trump shared information with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and Kavaz, and that was obtained by a U.S. partner through an intelligence sharing agreement, and was so sensitive it was withheld from U.S. allies and restricted within the U.S. government. The officials said Trump's disclosure risked cooperation with an ally that had access to the inner workings of the Islamic State, which they then shared details of with the Washington Post. This is what I don't understand. This is what boggles my mind since I've been rolling over this in my head.
Roll it over.
No, I mean, you get it. You get it. Do you get it? Do I need to explain it to you?
No, they get it.
If it's so classified and it's so important, and why leak it to the Post? I mean, you guys, if you cared about the country, if you cared, if this was something that you really cared about and that this person really cared about, you wouldn't put it in the Washington Post. You'd let it stay in that little room between the officials,
Right.
the military officials, the foreign minister. You'd let it just stay there with the ambassador. Just stay in the room.
And one of the left-leaning articles that I had read, I can't remember now, I was just trying to find it, had been trying to point out the fact that Trump had tweeted out that he was disappointed or whatever in how Hillary handled, certain information that wasn't exactly classified that she could reveal, but she shouldn't have. So the spin was, well, okay, so maybe it wasn't classified, but it was a mishandling of how he did this. And it's so hypocritical of him to have called out Clinton for doing that.
Clinton set up a whole server.
I'm just saying that was the spin from one of the left-leaning articles.
So then this is one particular incident, and you're mad at Trump. Why aren't you mad at Hillary? It just doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
The left-leaning DNC Democrat people don't make any sense. They said that senior White House officials took steps to contain the damage, placing calls to the CIA and the NSA after the meeting. The officials bashed the president, portraying him as reckless. A former senior U.S. official close to current administration officials said Trump seems to be very reckless and doesn't grasp the gravity of the things he's dealing with, especially when it comes to intelligence and national security, and it's all clouded because of this problem he has with Russia.
This problem he has with Russia. Why do we keep talking about this problem?
So if it's somebody
he has with
like,
Russia?
I can't, that quote doesn't even sound like, if that's coming forth from McMaster or a Tillerson or something, or anybody on Trump's team, they need to just be gone. Because we know that there's no...
Well, I don't think it was them, because it says a former senior U.S. official close to the administration. Obviously, that wouldn't be McMaster's or Tillerson. But still, it doesn't matter who it is. It's a very childish thing to say.
Yeah.
He doesn't grasp the gravity of what
It's
he's
clouded
dealing
because
with.
of this problem he has with Russia. Why would you even say that? This problem with Russia. No,
Right.
You have a problem. And the reason they call it a problem with Russia is because it's created out of thin air.
Right.
You'd call
There's
it...
nothing factual to put behind
You
it.
just have to call it a problem.
Right.
You would say his relationship or something like that, right? They also claim that Trump seemed to be boasting about his inside knowledge of the threat. The officials say Trump did not reveal the specific intelligence gathering method, but described how the Islamic State was pursuing elements of a specific plot and how much harm such an attack could cause under varying circumstances. Most alarmingly, officials said, Trump revealed the city and the Islamic State's territory where the U.S. intelligence partner detected the threat. The officials then leaked the name of the city to the Post. See, this is what boggles my mind. You lose all credibility.
Right.
Okay? When you say he leaked the name of the city, and if you just said this is
He leaked it, and so then we're gonna leak it too.
so you trust the Washington Post as some sort of superior moral being, like God, right? Like a priest. Like, this is the way they think. They think of news people as like priests. Like, if I go tell my priest that I molested someone, then they can't tell anybody. So it's like, and then it goes on to say, the Post said officials declined to identify the ally that collected the information, but said it is one that has previously voiced frustration with Washington's inability to safeguard sensitive information related to Iraq and Syria. So
they're
this
upset.
Continual leaker who's sharing crazy things with the Washington Post
is frustrated with Washington's inability to safeguard sensitive information. So I'm just going to leak it because I don't like that they can't keep it in their own heads either.
So Tillerson said during President Trump's meeting with Foreign Minister Lavrov, a broad range of subjects were discussed, among which were common efforts and threats regarding counterterrorism. During that exchange, the nature of specific threats were discussed, but they did not discuss sources, method, or military operations. Now, we need to be able to differentiate between WikiLeaks
Yes.
and these leakers.
Right.
Okay? When your whole goal is to sabotage the Trump administration, just to sabotage it,
Right.
with no moral reasoning, you're not trying to bring anything, nothing, now that it's out, what did we learn?
Nothing. It's a no-go.
With WikiLeaks, we learned corruption, right?
Right.
This isn't corruption, and the left is going to spin it as he's reckless, but that's an opinion.
Right.
An opinion on how things were said, because he didn't do anything wrong. So, this person, what you accuse somebody else of is what you're guilty of. This person is obviously a threat to our country and a threat to national security, and the Washington Post needs to be flushed down a toilet paper, down the toilet, and the newspaper needs to be used, as somebody said, for fish wrapping. That's all it's good for. And this would probably be a good time again to talk about how the CIA has a contract
With the Washington Post.
with the Washington Post, or with Amazon. The CIA has a contract with the Amazon, and Amazon owner owns the Washington Post.
Which is the same thing.
Yeah. So, $600 million contract. So, the guy who bought the Washington Post is himself working with
Has a political
the
agenda.
deep state.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
And that should be no surprise because every large company pretty much is owned
Right.
by somebody that's involved in the deep state.
exactly. I'm gonna just bring up that article so you can read it.
And once again, we go to Caitlin Johnstone. She's an amazing independent journalist. She's the one that had written that article about us. So if you guys haven't gone to her to read her stuff, go to her and watch her videos as well because she's always revealing a lot of amazing information.
Right. So
Very well
Amazon,
written.
the Washington Post, and that $600 million CIA contract. And so what she says is also strange in that 2013 article, now with today's date, has an edit button, archived article, and other nation articles
Right
lack
there.
this. So, anyways, I wanted to bring that up because she's like, hey, we need to remember that, you know, whenever Washington Post posts something, that they're in bed with the CIA, they're working with the deep state. I mean, they're just...
And they do
and I
constantly
think-
go and renege
Right.
what they've said and then just try to cover it up, sweep it under the rug. Well, we're just not going to address it. We'll just
Right.
retype it up and it's fine. All right, you guys, you can make your own opinion on that, your own determination, whether what you think. Leave it in the comments. Like Leah said before, leave us more links if you have more information than we do. Please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe to Mass Faith 3 and Resistance Chicks. Ring the bell for notifications. Find us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Remember, it is not just a conspiracy theory if it's the truth. We love you guys. God bless you. and God bless.
This is the best example of deep state operating right now through the Washington Post because there was another article. I'm going to cover this in a second, but there was an article I had read recently, basically saying we need to stop all the citizen journalists out there because of their undisclosed biases. We need people to be going to the mainstream media
because they
and
don't
have all of their news filtered through.
Have undisclosed biases.
Exactly. And no, I don't want to go to the mainstream media. You know what? I'm going to read. I will, because we can't. I mean, I have to go to some of these places to get the information. But then I can use my own intellect and I can figure things out. Because you're just getting the information, then you're spinning it.
Right.
And then we have to be smart enough to unspin their spin and see and read between the lines, which is what Twitter's doing. I know a lot of people are like, we don't really like to be on the internet. We don't like computers and stuff like that. But if we're not actively involved in what's going down in our government right now, we've been asleep for 100 years, which is how they've taken root. That's the deep state has taken root, and so now we're fighting back. And
because the internet has provided this opportunity in order for us to be able to do it.
Exactly. So we have to be able to bring. So that's why we say to like it, to comment, to share, and to be a journalist. And we say we don't have to agree on everything. I want you to use your own thoughts. I'm hoping that you filter it through wisdom and
we obviously
God.
filter ours through the Word of God. We tell you that every time. We don't lean to the right, we don't lean to the left, we lean on the Word of God. That is our filter, and I really do believe that you guys as our viewers are intelligent enough people to just take what we say, to take what the MSM says, to take what everybody says, and to come to the truth and an opinion without the bias of the person that's giving it. And that's what I love about the Resistance Chicks viewers, is that they are actually able to do that. So I love you guys. All right, so we've already signed off, so we're going to end it here and see you back in a bit.
I was cold all alone. No place for